grew up the daughter of a politician and a mother who was an activist, a women's rights activist, and an activist in a political party. So I had strong consciousness of the importance of a public role, and then I grew up in a country that was in conflict with civil war, and I got sucked up into the war, just like most people where I came from. So you can say that for me, politics was something I grew up in rather than something that I woke up to one day. I didn't have my family support because I chose to run for office in a different political movement than the political party that my father and mother belonged to. But in terms of engagement in politics, yes, I began being engaged in politics as a student, and I was living in exile, and I joined a human rights group that was resisting a dictatorship in my country. So that I did on my own with other students, and from then on I remained active in Ugandan political groups, and I guess all that time my parents agreed with me because they were also resisting dictatorship. Uganda became deeply involved in the Congo. Our army was deployed in the Congo and was playing a very negative role there. So again, the parliament was afraid of taking on the executive over this matter. And I took a stand again and forced a debate on the role of Uganda in Congo and called for our troops to be returned to Uganda, and succeeded, but I was quite bruised in that. I even went to jail for challenging the government on that question. So I think on a number of issues I was able to open important debates. Being an opposition politician in, as I said, a country that was democratizing, that was emerging from conflict, was difficult for both men and women. But for me, it became a difficult choice because at some point I was in and out of jail, and I had a little boy, 3 years old, who started seeing me as a jailbird who was constantly frightened of police coming to my house to take statements, my appearances in court all the time, and he was getting traumatized. And I had to make a decision whether I wanted a public role so much and was willing to risk the health and maybe the future of my son. And I ended up making a choice for my son and to leave my political work. I was in my 3rd term in Parliament. I had a safe seat, a strong connection to my electorate, but I had to take a decision to take some years out and get my son at least up to an age where he could understand the challenges of being a politician in a post-conflict country. That was the biggest challenge for me. Many of the challenges I faced would be the same challenges that a man faces who's working in a conflict country, a country emerging from conflict with weak institutions, and working on the opposition, trying to hold a government accountable. Many of the challenges are the same, but the particular ones I faced as a woman, I would say, are 2. One with the media, with a media that the Ugandan journalists were young, not very well trained, and without very strong ethics, professional ethics. They didn't have a strong body that was enforcing standards. So they tended to reflect some of the strongest biases in the society. And I used to find that the electorate was far ahead of the journalists. I would try to reach out to people, but always trying to correct the biases in the media. I found that many men were quite afraid of a woman with power. They may not admit it, but in every way, the way you relate, the way you work together, always reminded me that they were afraid of a woman with a capacity to lead them. So I always had to find ways of making my point while also at the same time dealing with their fear and reassuring them and making them feel that I'm not trying to assume more power or to lead them, but trying to coordinate them, to support them. So it was a difficult role, getting them to cooperate with me and not to feel threatened by me. I think my advice to women in politics would be that whatever your intentions when you came in, once you get there, you find that you have such an opportunity to take forward women's rights, and you should not lose it. You should use every opportunity that you have in the parliament, in the constituency, to make a difference and improve the rights of women.